Transfers are usually done with a lot of hope and positivity, and while many meet those expectations, some just end up being rather disappointing. In some other cases, everything just ends up looking so silly, and those are the ones we're here to talk about in this video. These are 8 transfers that look so dumb right now. We'll start with that of James Trafford. A lot has been said about this particular transfer since it happened last summer. At the time, it was seen as a beautiful story of a kid who left the Man City academy, went elsewhere to make a name for himself, and was then bought back for a record fee for a British goalkeeper. It was a proper homecoming, and he was destined to be number 1 at the club for the near future. The 23-year-old was confident that being number 1 at City would guarantee him a spot at the World Cup, but just a couple weeks later, Donnarumma became available. The club went for him, and now that Trafford signing looks so dumb. He's now only a cup goalkeeper, and his chances of going to the World Cup are very slim. There's no way he's happy about this situation he's in right now. But he's not even the only Man City signing in this video. Can you guess who the other guy is? Take a shot at it in the comments, we'll see if you're right soon. While you're there, if you aren't yet subscribed to the channel, go do that right away so you never miss out on our amazing content. Next, let's talk about Joshua Zirkzee. After one good season at Bologna, Manchester United decided to spend over €40 million on him without thinking about how he fits into the team. Zirkzee is not a centre forward, not a winger, and not a 10. He said it himself that he's more of a 9.5. This simply means that he just cannot function in every system, but it seems United didn't do their homework before putting pen to paper on this one. Now, Zirkzee just looks like an outcast at Old Trafford with no designated role in that Man United squad. The whole transfer just looks really silly now. But in the case of Manuel Ugarte, it's just slightly different. When he was bought for €50 million in 2024, almost the entire Man United fan base celebrated it like it was a signing that would absolutely change the trajectory of the club. But just a season and a half later, it already looks really dumb. In fact, it's looking like it was PSG who came out the biggest winners in all of this, managing to get up to €50 million for a player like that. Ugarte has simply not been good enough, and the money that was spent on him could surely have gone a long way in improving the squad, especially because with the likes of Casemiro, Manuel and Bruno, United already had sufficient midfielders and didn't really need the Uruguayan anyway. It's just really hard to see this as anything less than a dumb signing from Man United's perspective, and in some ways it's similar to the case of Isak. Right now, it looks like a really dumb transfer from all angles. Liverpool had already signed Eberetti, who had hit the ground running and shown that he could actually lead the Liverpool attack. And it's not like he was cheap either, having been signed for €95 million. What Liverpool should have done was to focus on other areas on the pitch that were lacking, like the centre-back, for example. But what did they do? They went and splashed a British record fee on Isak, who plays in the exact same position as Eberetti. Right from the beginning, it made no sense, but as we have started to see things play out, it feels even worse. Having spent all that money on Isak, Slot tried to force him into the lineup, sometimes at the expense of the informed Ugarte, and it really affected Liverpool's performance and results. Simply put, it wasn't working, and to worsen things, the Swede is now out injured and might end the season with just about 5 goals. For a player that cost almost €150 million, this is just too abysmal, and the worst part? It was totally unnecessary. Paying a national record fee for a player you didn't really need? Yeah, that's the clearest example of a dumb transfer. Another clear example has to be the signing of Omar Marmoush. One thing we can learn from this one is not to spend big money on signings when you're under pressure, especially mid-season. City were having a really horrible 2024-25 season, and that forced them to go out and spend big in January 2025. They paid €75 million for a player who had just half a good season without thinking of how he was going to fit in. You see, Marmoush is a player who likes to play either as a centre forward or a second striker. He's not good enough on the wings and just not creative enough to be used in midfield. But seeing that they already had Haaland, who plays almost every game, spending €75 million on someone who'd be nothing more than a backup to the Norwegian was never a smart move from the jump. But it somehow gets worse. Man City offered him around £300,000 in wages, making him one of the highest paid players at the club. For the player, it's probably a dream, but for the club, this is really as dumb as it gets. His transfer was expensive, earns a high wage, and has a contract that can keep him at the club until 2029. But there's no defined role for him at the club, so he hardly plays. Just a silly one all round. Another one that's now looking pretty silly: Arsenal's signing of Eberetti A. At the time, it looked so perfect. It was a beautiful homecoming, and Arsenal fans all around the world had 5 words at the tip of their tongues: let it all work out. But well, it's not looking like it's working out so well now, is it? At the beginning, with Ugarte out, it looked brilliant. But with the captain having returned from injury, it looks like Eze is nothing more than a backup player. He hasn't started a single Premier League game for Arsenal this year, and in fact, he didn't even come off the bench in 4 of the last 6 games. So far, he has had just 1 good game in an Arsenal shirt. You simply do not spend €70 million on a 27-year-old to get this. So yeah, we'll say it's looking real dumb right now. And you know what makes it look sillier? Arsenal getting Eze has blocked the pathway of Ethan Nwaneri, forcing him to leave the club on loan this January just to get minutes. If they hadn't signed Eze from Palace, the precocious teenager would have been getting more minutes developing in the right environment this season. But his growth was stunted because of someone who's not even heavily contributing to the team at the moment. It now feels like Arsenal just went in for this one so that their City rival Spurs wouldn't get him. Because, I mean, when you think about it, the rationale at the time was that they got Eze because Havertz got injured. Signing a midfielder after a striker got injured is not exactly straightforward math, is it? Speaking of Spurs, they had their own brain fart with the Mathys Tel signing. When he first joined on loan in February 2025, it was because that was his last resort. He really didn't want to join the North London club. He only settled for them when he saw he had no other option. That was the first red flag. Anyway, he joined and he started to play, but he just didn't do enough during his loan spell for the club to want to make the move permanent. But they did. I mean, this guy, who's an attacker, had just 5 goal contributions in 20 appearances, but Spurs still went and spent €35 million on him, only to leave him out of the Champions League squad that same summer. You knew you had no plans to use this player, why then did you pay money for him? But it somehow gets worse. In December, Tel was added to the Champions League squad because Solanke was injured, only to be taken off again the following month after the English striker returned. Now, just months after making his move permanent, Tel is already looking for a way out of the club. This particular transfer feels really dumb right now, both for the player and for the club. But in Trent Alexander-Arnold's case, it feels much dumber for the player. The Englishman left his boyhood club where he had been for 20 years and had risen to be vice-captain to join one of their biggest European rivals as a free agent. He knew how he'd be treated because of his decision, he knew this would make the fans turn on him, he knew all the consequences of that decision to leave, especially for free, but he still decided to take the very risky step. The only thing that would have justified it on his path is if he began to enjoy instant success at Real Madrid. But that has not been the case at all. He's been battling injuries since his arrival, and the truth is that when everyone is fit, he's not even the club's first choice right back. Right now, Real Madrid don't even miss him so much as Valverde has been doing an exceptional job at right back. Trent had won it all at Liverpool. He was on the path to be the club captain and might have retired with a statue of him outside the club, but he chose to abandon all of that to go and be just another guy at Real Madrid. Yeah, we'll be honest, that feels really dumb. Well, we now want to hear from you. What other transfers would you say feel really dumb right now? Tell us in the comments. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Also, turn on the bell notification so you never miss out on new content. Catch you in the next one. Bye.